everybody, Sam Amico, Hoops Wire live on 330 to go. Back to talk more Cavaliers basketball, and my goodness, are they rolling. I just wanted to show you the mug I just realized I got here to not keep, but it is accurate for my show here at the 330 to go studios. I totally agree with myself, and that's not always the case, but I always pretend to agree with myself, so if you're watching this show, you can agree or disagree with me, whichever you prefer. I hope that it's agreement, because the truth is, there's no debate. The Cavaliers are just rolling and having a historical season. We've never seen a season like this for pro basketball in Cleveland. And I know everybody's saying, well, they got to do it in the playoffs and blah, blah, blah. But I feel bad for the people who are only going to watch the playoffs, because this has just been, to me, the next best thing to winning a championship isn't finishing second, although that's pretty cool. But a regular season full of fun in any sport is, that's a huge chunk of the season, right? You're playing 82 games during the regular season. So I think that it's, if you're a fan of the NBA and a fan of the Cavaliers, this is fantastic in terms of they're just tons of fun. And how often, I hate to bring up the Browns, but how often are you having fun? And I think that that's a big part of what they're doing. I have a friend, believe it or not, he's my friend, but he's a Steelers fan. And, there's obviously some tension between us. But when the Steelers when Ben Roethlisberger was a rookie, I believe, way back in the day, went 15-1 during that regular season. Well, they got creamed by the Patriots in the playoffs. And when I said to him, they didn't, 15-1, what's it mean? And he said, we had a regular season full of fun. As a Browns fan, not to get off topic, I can tell you I would kill for that. A regular season full of fun. How often do we get that with the Browns? Not, once every 15 years. The Cavs, however, this has been the best story in the NBA, even though people haven't been talking about it nearly enough nationally. And we ran a post on hoopswire.com about Charles Barkley's comments on Inside the NBA on TNT on Thursday night, when he said the fools at the other network, which he was referring to ESPN, he said all they want to do is talk about the Lakers and the Warriors. And he said the Cavs, and he also mentioned the Thunder. He said those are the two best teams and the two best stories in the league. And the two best teams all season. He said the Lakers and Warriors have had 2 good weeks. You know how many games the Lakers have had in a row at home? Like 8 games. Might even be more than that. They may have played, I think, like 9 of their last 10 at home. And the Lakers are riding an 8-game winning streak. Their one loss in there, though, is to the lowly Charlotte Hornets, who haven't won since. The Hornets have lost 8 in a row since beating the Lakers, and most of them by historically bad double digits. If you're watching this live, you will know the Cavaliers take their 12-game winning streak, their third such winning streak of this season, into Charlotte on Friday night and battle the Hornets and their 8-game losing streak. Clash of the Titans right there. And it's going to be a dangerous game. Cavs are 3-0 against the Hornets. They've run them off the court. Charlotte's due to win. I think the Cavs have enough maturity and talent and depth that no matter how poorly they play, they should beat the Hornets. I would take the Cuyahoga Falls 6th graders against the Hornets right now. So I don't worry about the Cavs. But the bottom line is I've been so impressed. First of all, let's start with the stat and the history that the Cavs have made. The NBA's been around since 1947, and the Cavs are one of 2 teams since that time, since 1947, that have had winning streaks of at least 12 games in the same season. 3 of them. And the Cavs obviously started 15-0. Later on, they went on a 12-game winning streak. They're on another 12-game winning streak. How far can they take it? That remains to be seen. Charlotte on Friday, in Milwaukee, which is obviously going to be a tough one. On Sunday, they're 3-0 against the Bucks. If you remember, part of that 15-game winning streak to start the season, the Cavs looked terrible against the Bucks, and somehow, some way, there was a lousy inbounds pass that bounced off Donovan Mitchell's knee. He grabbed it as time was running out, and the Cavs were down 1, and he made the basket. He somehow made the basket, and the Cavs won at the buzzer in Milwaukee. So, always that's going to be tough that Sunday. Then they come home. I believe it's Tuesday. Could be wrong. Maybe Wednesday. Tuesday or Wednesday. They're going to play Brooklyn at home. Brooklyn's been, they play hard. So, extending this winning streak beyond 12 or 13 games is going to be very difficult, but that's okay. What matters now is with 20 games left, staying healthy, number one. Number two, playing your best basketball when it means the most. And guess what? The Cavs are doing that. They're 10-0 with DeAndre Hunter in uniform. I have not looked this up, but I don't know if there's ever been a player traded, in the case of DeAndre Hunter from the Atlanta Hawks to the Cavs in February at the trade deadline. I don't know if there's ever been a player traded at the deadline that's won his first 10 games with his new team. I asked DeAndre the other day, do you think you're ever going to lose with this team? And he said, I'm not planning on it. So, who knows? But it's, and look, the last, I guess it's been 3 or 4 games, the Cavs in Boston were down 25-3, came back, won that game. Got down double digits. Portland at home got down double digits. Had to come back and win that game. Chicago went up by 17, then went down by 7, had to come back and win that game. So, this is the time of year, I can tell you, where NBA players start to get a little bit, especially when you're a team like the Cavs, Boston's not going to catch you. You're going to finish with the number 1 seed in the East. It's a little tough to keep it going. You want to get to the playoffs. LeBron James, when he was in Cleveland, used to say all the time a line that annoyed me. And I think I even let him know it annoyed me, but clearly he doesn't care. But he used to say, just get me the playoffs. Just get me the playoffs. And we started to hear that in March, and this is the time of year where NBA teams that know they're going to the playoffs, they know they're seeding, can kind of take a step back. Just human nature. Let me tell you, from my own experience, I've been talking Cavaliers, not just here, but on the Full Court Cleveland show on FanDuel Sports Network with Booby Gibson. And I'll see people in restaurants. I love it. People come up to me and just start talking Cavs. My family and friends and relatives, they all want to talk Cavs. All the time. Hey, what about the Cavs? What do you think about this? What do you think about? And I love it. It's my job. But I can tell you by March, I'm like, I'm talked out, man. I need a break. Well, guess what? There's not going to be any break until I don't know, if the Cavs keep going the way they're going, June, the end of June, right? I think that the Cavs are true blue championship contenders. It took me until probably after the All-Star break, despite these winning streaks. But I look at them now, and I'm like, this team can win a championship. They have done everything that their coach, Kenny Atkinson, said he wanted to see from them at the start of training camp. So I think that there's no reason to believe that they can't win a title. And here on 330 to go, we use double negatives in our sentences all the time, so I don't want to hear about it. And by we, I mean myself. And I totally agree with myself. So I think that the Cavs can win a championship. People have asked me this over and over. And I think it's it's a distinct possibility that they can. Obviously, Kenny Atkinson said it the other night, and I can't even remember who they beat, but they beat somebody the other night. Oh, the Miami Heat. That was another game, back and forth. Looked like the Cavs may not win it. They pulled it out at the end. And that's why I think that they can win a championship this year, because they are able to, overcome obstacles. And we see that time and time again. Nights that they don't have great games, they're still finding ways to win. We've said it all season. I will look at Bob Finan, who's been on the show numerous times, and he sits next to me at the Cavs games in the press row, and I turn to him, and he will turn to me. This is a game they lose last year. And we've said that 5 or 6 times, but they're managing to win. And I think that their experience together, remember during the offseason, everybody's like, well, the Cavs got to make some trades. They got to find some people. And at that time, as usual, I was right. I said the Cavs have all the way till February to figure it out and make a trade. They don't need to do it right now. Let's see what this new coach can do. Well, they waited all the way till February and they made their trade. And what a trade it was, because DeAndre Hunter, at the time of that trade, was the best 3-and-D player off the bench in the NBA. And he remains that now in Cleveland. Obviously, he starts some games. He finishes games. We saw against the Heat that, Jared Allen was not in there in the fourth quarter. It's been a couple games Jared Allen has not been in the fourth quarter. Kenny Atkinson said, it's Jared Allen, man. He's all about the team. He's been fantastic. He's like, if there's one guy who's going to be able to handle that, it's Jared Allen. Now, the game against the Bulls, Jared Allen was amazing that game. He's the reason they won the game. And that's kind of been the MO of this team. When it comes to finding ways to win, different guys stepping up, it's always Donovan Mitchell and somebody. And Kenny Atkinson said in training camp, we have to be playing our best basketball after the All-Star break. We cannot get into that March lull. Cavs have not done that so far. They obviously very early in March, but they haven't done that. They've managed to keep the pace going when it comes to winning games and feeling good. We saw this is nothing against JB Bickerstaff, who is absolutely in the Coach of the Year running in Detroit and has done a magnificent job there. But for whatever reason, and it's not all coaching, but for whatever reason, the last 2 years with Donovan Mitchell on the team, the Cavs have played their best basketball of the season before the All-Star break and kind of clunked their way into and through the playoffs. This team is not playing its best basketball right now, but it's playing really good basketball, and it makes you think they're just kind of waiting for the playoffs to play their best basketball. Most teams that are in the Cavs position, which is, we've basically wrapped up the Eastern Conference. We're just fighting for the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs, which means if they get to the finals, they would have the edge over the Oklahoma City Thunder should they get to the finals. So, with that in mind, you could see where human nature might make the Cavs feel like, let's just try and keep this lead. They are resting guys. I love how Kenny Atkinson rests people. We're not going to rest 3 guys in the same game. We're going to rest Donovan Mitchell one game, which was the Portland game. And then we're going to rest Evan Mobley another game, which was the Chicago game. And then we may rest Darius Garland another game. Darius Garland's had some time off because of the injury already. But as the season gets closer to the end, they're going to rest those guys. You know what else? Here's the other interesting thing. When you're not resting, Kenny Atkinson's going to ramp up your minutes. He's going to ramp up Donovan Mitchell's minutes toward the end of the regular season. Not to wear him down, but he said, I want to get these guys used to the minutes that they're going to be playing in the playoffs. Does that mean the bench is going to shorten up or tighten up? The rotation's going to tighten up? Probably not. It's just going to mean less minutes for the guys that are, ninth, 10th, 11th man. We saw Javonte Green absolutely star and help win that game. Kenny Atkinson said, we don't win that game in Chicago without him. How many minutes he got against Portland? Miami? 0. Didn't play. A game after really leading them to victory. But that's just the way this team is. Javonte Green is your clear 13th man. He's the spark off the bench. I was sitting there during the Miami game like, put in Javonte Green. Because they were struggling. I felt like they needed a spark. But the one thing I love about Kenny Atkinson is this is our rotation, this is our team, and this is the regular season, and we don't panic. And we let the starters play their way through these things, as well as the key bench guys. He makes them play through trouble spots. Because guess what? That's what you do in the playoffs. When they went down 25-3 against the Celtics, and the bench brought the Cavs back, Kenny Atkinson did not veer from his rotation. He kept the same rotation. When they came back and won that game, it's because it's the rotation they've been using all season. So when people tell me, yeah, the Cavs need to do it during the playoffs, I'm like, the team you're seeing now is what you're going to see in the playoffs. The rotations you're seeing now are what you're going to see in the playoffs. If Jared Allen doesn't have it and the Cavs need to go smaller and use DeAndre Hunter at power forward, they're going to do that, as they're showing now. I don't really need a drink of coffee. I just like to take a break every once in a while and show the mug. There's actually nothing in there. No, I'm just kidding. So I think, people... That's the question. Can this team win a championship? The other question, of course, which we discussed last week, the Lakers have won 8 straight. Like I said, nobody in the NBA has had more home games than the Lakers over the last month. Not even close. It's not to, totally shoot down what they're doing, but I guarantee you if the Cavs had 8 straight home games and 9 of 10, their winning streak would be like 20 games. So... whatever. I just don't know who's going to guard anybody for the Lakers in the playoffs. It's not going to be LeBron James. He can't defend anymore. He's still great offensively. He's not going to help you defensively. He kind of hurts you. Luka Doncic has never been able to defend anybody. So I just don't know about the Lakers. But we talked about this on Full Court Cleveland. I talked about it last week here. I would love to talk about it here more often. The Cavs versus LeBron James in the finals. As a guy who runs a website, that's what I'm rooting for. Trust me. Let's be honest here. So I know how it would impact my business incredibly positively if the Cavs were to play the Lakers in the finals. You can only imagine what the NBA's rooting for in the league office, right? Everybody's been talking about how bad their ratings are. If I were the NBA and the Cavs played the Lakers in the finals, I would be constantly hammering how great our ratings are to all the world. I'd be talking trash about our ratings. And trust me, I know the league office, and that's exactly what they would do. They would send me a press release every 5 minutes about how great their TV ratings are. So, yeah, do people at the networks and in the NBA office pull for something that's good for business? Does your least favorite NBA writer pull for something that would benefit his business? Sure. I don't care who the Cavs play in the finals, frankly. Would love to see them there. Before I used to kind of hide and keep secret that I was rooting for them because I'm supposed to be impartial, because I do cover the entire NBA on my website. But, one of the guys who's really helped me in this business is Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk when it comes to running my own website. And Mike he covers the entire NFL. He's wildly successful at what he does. And on NBC and all that, he makes no secret of his love for the Minnesota Vikings, So I'm not going to make a secret of my love for the Cavaliers. They're my favorite team as a kid. After the Washington Bullets, when I was a kid, Washington Bullets were my first favorite team because they were the first one I saw on television. Since then, they've gotten mad at me. I may have mentioned this on the show before, but when they changed their name from Bullets to Wizards, which was years ago, but at one point I wrote, "How are stationary bullets sitting on a shelf any safer than practicing wizardry?" And they sent me an email. They were like, "Sam, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, it was a joke. It's like the joke went over your head. So I told them I totally agree with myself. So anyway, back to the Cavaliers. Bob Finan and I will sit there and we'll be like cheering like middle school kids who are watching the Cavaliers for the first time. You know what? But we've both covered them for 100 years. It's our time now to root for this team. And you know what? Somebody asked me where this Cavaliers team ranks among my all-time favorite teams. I'll be happy to tell you. I'm not going to give you the other four, but I'll be happy to tell you they are third, which is really good because the other ones are teams I didn't cover. Well, obviously the championship teams in there, but there's three of them that aren't in the was before I was an NBA writer, and you kind of had that, I don't know, childish reverence for those teams. Now I have covered so many Cavs teams now, year 17. This is the most fun team I've covered. These are the most likable, enjoyable team I've covered. That's not to say the other teams weren't. I'm just saying this is the most. The guys are great. The leader is great. Donovan Mitchell is just a great dude. There's never any drama. He doesn't allow drama. He keeps everybody positive. He builds up his teammates, not just in public, but behind closed doors. He's the best leader I've ever seen. And I thought LeBron James was a good leader. They just have different styles. I don't know that LeBron's leadership would be great with this team. I'm not saying it wouldn't be. I'm just saying I don't know that it would be, the ideal. So, in spite of that, Donovan Mitchell has been just fantastic when it comes to leadership. And I just think that with you factor all those things in, leadership, teamwork, camaraderie, incredible depth, right? The Cavs have incredible depth, and I think that's enough to carry them in. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm going to get ahead of myself. Championship. Now, there's a long way to go. I still think it goes through Boston. I still think even if the Cavs have home court advantage, which they're going to do throughout the Eastern Conference playoffs, if they face the Celtics, they're going to have to win a game in Boston. So I just think that there's no way that you face the Celtics or face even, the New York Knicks or the Orlando Magic, or who else have we got in there? The Magic have fallen apart, so that's a bad example. But Milwaukee Bucks. I just don't know that you get to winning a championship. And if you go to the finals, if you're the Cavs, and you play the Lakers as we're all rooting for, then we have to find a way to win a road game if you're the Cavaliers, right? So, that in mind, there's been just so much when it comes to everything that's gone into this winning streak. The Cavs haven't been at their best, but they've been at their best, right? That's the only way to describe it. So my whole thing about this is they've set out to do everything that they were planning to do at training camp. That's what I've liked about this team. Kenny Atkinson came out and said during training camp all these different things that they wanted to happen, which is you've got to show fight during the regular season. It means something, right? You've got to be able to come up with ways to win when all else seems lost. You've got to be able to play your best basketball after the All-Star break and going into the playoffs. That is what this team has done. And we're talking about a guy who was saying this back in October. I don't think that anybody saw this coming. When we mentioned to Kenny Atkinson, hey, you've won 12 straight, then again, for the third time this season, he said, it's been, I love when you tell me stats like that. He was being facetious. He said, I love when you tell me stats like that. And that's because he doesn't care. The Cavs aren't paying attention to that. And he said, we don't talk about it. But he said, at the same time, it's special to set NBA history in your first year as a coach in Cleveland. Or to tie NBA history, become one of two teams as in your first year in Cleveland. So, I think that that's been a big boon to everything they're doing, these winning streaks and these setting records along the way. Max Strus said the same thing. He said, we've had games where we haven't been great, where we haven't been at our best, and we still find ways to win. So you want to enjoy that journey, right? If you're a Cavs, you're a player, you're a coach, you don't want to get too caught up in records and all that stuff, but you want to be able to enjoy the journey. I think they're doing that while keeping their heads on straight. So, the reasons I think that the Cavs can continue this and win a championship is they've been very fortunate with good health to their main players, right? They've been able to rest them. It's just been, to me, a magical season to this point. And I think regardless of what happens from here, you always enjoy this season. People who go way, way back, 1988, 89, and remember that NBA season and the shot. I hate to bring it up when everything's going great, but the shot that Michael Jordan hit that eliminated the Cavs from the playoffs. I was obviously a lot younger then, and some of you probably weren't even born, but I watched every game that I could that season. Cavs started like 24-3. They finished 57-25, which was the best record at the time in franchise history. It was a magical run. That team wasn't as experienced as the 2024-25 Cavaliers. But I still remember that magical season. It's just a regular season. Jordan got the best of them in the playoffs. The key for that series, honestly, was Mark Price missing the first game with what was a pulled hamstring. So he missed that first game against Chicago. Cavs lost the first game. And that just set them back, and he played the rest of the series with an injured hamstring. The Cavs in the year of the shot, they played the Bulls 6 times and beat them all 6 times. Lost to them in the playoffs. So what I'm saying is I still appreciate that season, even though the Cavs lost to the Bulls in the playoffs and what became really what launched Michael Jordan's career as a 6-time champion. Bulls didn't win the title that year, but it did launch kind of, okay, we thought Michael Jordan was just a great scorer before that game, or before that shot, before that playoff series. Ended up, he was a great all-around champion, right? So The point there is, I think that you enjoy this regular season, but I also think that the Cavs can go a lot further than that 1988-89 team, or really any team we've seen without LeBron James. Granted, this year, anything less than the Eastern Conference Finals is going to be a disappointment. I know a lot of fans, if they get to the Eastern Conference Finals and don't get to the finals, that'll be a disappointment. And I would get that. Get to the finals, I don't think it's a disappointment. If you get to the finals, you want to obviously win a championship. But because I'm a basketball diehard, this is what I do for my job. There's never been a season where I've thought, oh, this is so frustrating and irritating and annoying. There's been moments of frustration and irritation, and annoyance, but never a full season's worth, because to me, pro basketball in Cleveland is fantastic. A lot of cities don't have that. The fact that it's my job, that's just an added bonus. So I'm rambling on about nothing that you don't already know. Do you think the Cavaliers can win a championship this season? When anybody asks me that, I do see people out and about, fans or readers, not fans of myself. I don't have fans. I have readers and viewers. But fans of the Cavaliers will approach me at times and they'll say, do you think they can win it all this year? And I'll say, yes, I do. But I always want to hear from them. What do you think? And they're like, depending on, I can tell when the fan comes up and asks me whether or not they think the Cavs can win a championship before they even say anything else. Because they'll come up with either a frown like, do you really think they can win a championship this year? Or they'll say, hey, do you think they can win a championship this year? And when I ask, either way, one personality, a fan, will say, well, they're never going to get past Boston. They can't slow down Tatum. Garland keeps getting switched onto Tatum. Interestingly, that was an issue against the Celtics the other game. Garland did keep getting switched on to Jason Tatum, and Garland does keep getting switched on to bigger players on defense. Kenny Atkinson said, yeah, we recognize that. We're not, we have to fix that. And we will. We will by the time the playoffs get here. And he said, so, maybe we stop switching. Maybe you fight through that pick, bring out a bigger defender, whatever. So I don't think that the Cavs are whole in terms of their strategy yet. I had somebody complain to me about the Celtics game. Well, they kept doing this. Jason Tatum was going on. And I said, who won the game? And he was like, well, yeah, but... And I was like, no, it's a bottom line league. Win or lose. Win or lose. Yeah, but the playoffs, I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs, and frankly, neither do you. Right? Enjoy the moment. I have somebody who, not even somebody, multiple friends who are like, hey, they need to go out and get another big guy. Like, they're not even playing Jared Allen in the fourth quarter now. You think they're going to go out and get another big guy who they're not going to play in the fourth quarter? Their roster is basically full. They can add another two-way guy. Well, actually, you can't. You can't sign anybody else to two-way contracts now. That deadline's passed. So if they sign somebody, it has to be to a standard deal. It's not on their radar right now. It's not. I don't think it should be. DeAndre Hunter plays power forward, backup center. You have Jared Allen, you have Evan Mobley. There's no sense in going out and signing a guy to a standard deal who's not going to play. The individual get whoever they were to sign would be lucky to get anything close to even Javonte Green minutes, and Javonte Green's played in one game. That wasn't garbage time. If you want to do it for assurances, you don't need to worry about that, because anybody who's out there is not going to be as good of a backup center as Dean Wade or whatever. Just play the guys you have. They're 52-10. Keep playing the guys you have. If injuries were to happen, heaven forbid, nobody available is going to come in and rescue them. if that were to happen. So I think this roster is set for the playoffs. Now, they could always sneak in and sign a guy on the last day of the regular season. We saw the Lakers do that with Tristan Thompson a couple years ago. Did not play the entire regular season, got signed by the Lakers on the last day of the regular season. And what did it do for them? It gave them, he played 4 minutes total in the playoffs. So, I'm not worried about the Cavs roster. Frankly, I'm not worried about anything right now. People are like, are they going to be able to sign Ty Jerome during the offseason? I'm like, ask me during the offseason. This is the regular season. The playoffs are coming. Do I think those... Right now, today, if I have to predict the future, do I think they'll re-sign Ty Jerome? Yeah. I mean, obviously they're going to want to. Other teams will be able to throw some big money at them, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's like the Brooklyn Nets, the Rockets, if they shift some stuff around, are going to throw some money at people. So, you know, I just don't think anybody's going to make... People want to sign Ty Jerome in the offseason, other teams, but they're not going to make him their main free agent target. He's a great player off the bench, don't get me wrong, but you're not going to pay him starter money. The Cavs will pay them. I think it'll be a good deal. He'll get a good deal from the Cavs. I think he's going to want to stay. Obviously, so much is contingent on what happens between now and July. You know, so you can't. But are there pathways to re-signing Ty Jerome? Absolutely. And simple ones at that. And ones that would make sense for him. So, unless the Brooklyn Nets come along and say, we want Ty Jerome above everybody else available in free agency, then I think the Cavs have a good chance. But right now, you know, I don't concern myself with it because, and I can tell you, Cavs and Ty Jerome don't concern themselves with it at all because guess what? There is plenty of business at hand. Ty Jerome is focused on the Cavaliers and what he can do to help them win, and I would think that that's incredibly obvious. And I would think that the Cavaliers feel the same way. So, you know, they know as well as we do that, yeah, this is a guy that we need to bring back. And they'll do it. They'll do it. But I wouldn't worry about too far ahead. 12-game winning streak. Enjoy this historic season. Not Cavaliers historic season. NBA historic season in Cleveland. Could you imagine? LeBron James teams never did this. Never did this. If they did, could you imagine the narrative? Obviously, it doesn't mean a thing unless you get that ring, to quote Beyonce. But, you know, we all know that. But in the meantime, there's a lot of stuff on the way there that's just so much fun. So I know I enjoy it. I have a blast. And yeah, every once in a while I'll wake up and think, what amazing joke can I tell on 330 to go? That's number one. Number two is, can these Cavs win a championship? So today, on this edition of the show, I'm going to say, yes, they can. Yes, they can. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine? Forget playing LeBron James and the Lakers in the finals. I think the Lakers' road is 10 times tougher, by the way, than the Cavs to get to the finals. Because the Cavs are a way better defensive team. They're a way better offensive team. They have way more depth. Luka or LeBron has an off night for the Lakers in the playoffs, they're toast. If they have an off, because they don't have anybody who guard anybody. Dorian Finney-Smith is the guy that they went out and got from the Nets, who Cavs fans wanted. And the Cavs got like the souped up version of Dorian Finney-Smith and DeAndre Hunter. The guy looks like he's having a Kawhi Leonard-like season. DeAndre Hunter, which means he's outstanding defender. And when Kenny Atkinson, when they made that trade for DeAndre Hunter, Kenny Atkinson said, he could guard point guards, small forwards, shooting guards, power forwards, and centers. Like, he can't guard all 5 positions. Give me a break. Well, guess what? He can. He can, and he has since he's been with the Cavs. He's defended every position. He plays power forward in the offense. He's a good rebounder. He's a great scorer. He can hit threes. I mean, he forces nothing. Everything he does comes within the flow of the offense, Hunter. And that's just, he's not an NBA All-Star, but he's a Cavs All-Star. And he's, alongside Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, Allen, Strus, who is just, he just plays so hard. And he's hit some really big shots in the second half of the season to help win games, if not outright win them. So, I mean, those are right there. There's 6 guys. And then obviously you throw in Ty Jerome, who's probably having an all-star type of season, borderline all-star type of season. All of these guys have saved the Cavs at one point in games or another. Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, Sam Merrill. These are guys who understand and play their roles. And even though they don't always make shots, who cares if you're the Cavs? You're averaging like 130 points a game. Okay, so what? They got to average 160? You need Merrill, Wade, and Okoro to do the intangibles. And they are having career years, even Isaac Okoro, when it comes to the intangibles. People are like, yeah, but they've been inconsistent shooting. So what? I just named 8 guys who can get you 20 points, at least. You need all of them? So, to me, it's like, this has been a banner year, and it's going to continue to be a banner year. And I just think with the way and the depth that this team has, the advantage this team has over the Boston Celtics is very obvious. Incredibly obvious. The Cavs bench is 10 times better. Peyton Pritchard's a fantastic player off the Celtics bench. He's 6 foot. Not that 6 foot players can't be great. Donovan Mitchell's not much taller than 6 foot. Neither is Darius Garland. My point is, the Cavs have people who can match up with him, whether it's Ty Jerome, you put DeAndre Hunter on him, slow him down. So obviously the Celtics won a championship. They have that experience and that belief. But I think the Cavs, if they were to face Boston, I'm not positive Boston's getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. Sorry, just not. Not positive the Cavs are either, but I'm really not positive the Celtics are. So, you may not even see that matchup. What the Cavs have to do is continue to keep doing what they're doing. And I know it's easy to get caught up in, but if we play when we play the Celtics, there's no guarantee they'll ever see each other again. Not this season. Got to take care of the business at hand. The Cavs have been doing that. Celtics do it to a lesser degree. They've been without some guys with Porzingis and Holiday in and out of the lineup. But to me, Kristaps Porzingis is always in and out of the lineup. May not even have to face him in the playoffs. So, long way to go. Even though there's just 20 regular season games, playoffs start mid-April. Then if you're the Cavs, you hope that it's going all the way to June, and you have every reason to believe that it can. So, all right, well, I've gone 45 minutes to tell you that the Cavs can win a championship. So we will end that here. And just remember, I strongly encourage you to get a mug like this, even though this isn't mine. I do have a coat here. I'll probably put it in my pocket and leave the 330 to Go studios, and they'll never see it again. Or they'll see it for the next show, and they'll be like, we've been looking for that. But anyway, on that note, thanks so much for following along. Banner day on the website yesterday, and I think that's not me. It's more the Cavs keep winning. And, of course, we heard Charles Barkley's comments, which was probably our most read post of today, which is, why isn't ESPN talking more about the Cavs and the Thunder? And they're so obsessed with the Lakers and Warriors. I think we can all relate to that. We all agree with that. I'm just glad somebody with the voice and respect and admiration of Charles Barkley came out and said it. So, Anyway, thanks so much for joining. Thanks for following along. And we will talk to you next week at this time. See you then.